Before the first heartbeat of this tale, promise yourself to watch the video until the end. The last turn of winter carries a truth that only patience can hear. Chapter 1: Frost on Silk. I have watched women stitched into dresses like armor, their smiles fastened as tightly as their corsets, their futures hemmed by other hands. In the city of Oroville, where chandeliers fell like moons and the streets bit cold even in April, Alira Vallon was one of those women I could not look away from. She was the wife of Arden Vallon, a statesman with the patient face of a clock. Their home was orderly, their meals regular, their toasts precise and correct. Everything about them suggested the smooth run of a well-oiled machine, except for the pause that sometimes caught in Alira's throat, a pause as if she had misheard the music of her own life. They had a daughter, Lyra, whose laughter made the stiff corridors glow. Alira read to her at dusk, forming silly voices out of her beautiful mouth, laughing quietly so as not to disturb the house's rule of dignified silence. Arden loved his family as one loves a carriage, gratefully, carefully, always mindful of the road. His affection was earnest but regulated, a devotion that weighed more than it moved. On the far edge of the city, beyond the Amber River and the mills, a man named Rowan Hale kept an orchard like a prayer. He had returned from years away and worked beside his hired hands, dirt darkening his palms, the sun making honest promises across his shoulders. He thought often of Sana, a music teacher in Oroville with eyes like the first thaw. Their bond was shy and strong. They lived in the day. Alira lived in the glow between day and night. I who write this noticed these threads before they pulled tight. Winter came early that year, coiling like a white rope over rooftops. Alira's days arranged themselves without asking. Lyra, the tutor, the charity committees, the corridor conversations with Arden that never left the corridor. The city gossiped as cities do, seeking heat in other people's storms. It had not yet found hers. Chapter 2: The Station Lamps and a Smile. On a biting night in late January, the Western Station shook itself awake as the evening express pulled in, hissing and gleaming like a great black animal. Lanterns swung. Porters shouted. Breath rose in little storms from every mouth. Alira's brother, careless, beloved, and newly contrite, had begged her to come. His marriage rattled like a loose window in the wind. Alira went because she believed in mending broken things. That is where she first saw Captain Theron Malore, leaning from the carriage with that hybrid of focus and ease that belongs to men who run toward danger. His uniform reflected the light the way snow reflects dawn. He was not handsome in the way of statues. He was alive in the way of fires. When his boot met the platform, a porter slipped on the ice. The captain's hand, steady and quick, caught a suitcase and a small boy at once. Alira found herself smiling before she could think to be elegant. He noticed the smile. He bowed the way a dancer bows to the partner he hopes to partner again. I do not set store by first sights. First words have undone me far more. But some faces arrive like letters written long before. Alira felt that letter open. Inside the station lounge, where coffee smelled like a promise kept, the captain mentioned he had seen her at a charity recital weeks before. She didn't remember him because she had been busy forgetting herself. They spoke of the cold, of the trains, of the way Oroville pretended to be one kind of city while being another. The conversation should have ended at courtesy. It stranded them at candor. When Alira returned home, she brought back a settled family for her brother, and an unsettled horizon for herself. The station lamp stayed with her, a little constellation she couldn't blink away. Arden listened to her account of the trip with the attention he gave to parliamentary notes, his questions tidy as squares on paper. He never asked how the night had smelled, or what laughter had sounded like when the train's whistle cut it in half. Chapter 3: Fire Under Ice. Oroville filled winter with parties, as if light could be stacked against the cold. At a fundraiser for the Widows' Hospital, Alira wore a dress the color of moonlight on a river. Captain Theron was there too, without epaulets, his hair damp from snow. He did not ask to be presented. He waited for the chance to pass by and say her name in a tone that moved through the air like a quiet violin. They found themselves next to a window where frost had sketched ferns and feathers. They spoke of books, then of courage, then of whether a woman could be both obedient and honest. Alira laughed a little too softly. When she turned away, she felt the heat of his gaze follow into the places she kept locked. Such heat is dangerous in winter. It can crack glass. In those weeks, Sanaa's students performed a recital in the parish hall. Rowan stood at the back with the orchard's wind still in his hair. He wanted simple things: to earn his way, to build a house where music could be as common as bread, to marry Sanaa and plant late-blooming trees they could watch grow old without hurry. Across the city, in a salon with sugar-dusted samovars, Alira wanted something that seemed simple until the day put edges around it. She wanted a life she could call by its real name. Captain Theron and Alira met where they should not. In the pages of letters they never signed with real names, beneath a bronze equestrian statue at dawn, on a thawing afternoon in a museum, their glances painting their own exhibits. I, a woman who has been mistaken for quiet, know that silence can be louder than any instrument. The city heard them. It always does. It pretended not to look while it learned every turn. The first kiss did not happen at a ball or a masked celebration. It happened on an ordinary street where a cartwheel splashed a passerby and a dog shook off rain. The kiss did not make a vow. It broke a dam. The next day, Alira held Lyra longer, answered Arden's questions with care, and tried not to touch the places her own mouth had become unfamiliar with. Chapter 4: The Law of the House. Arden did not live like a lover or a poet. He lived like a ledger. He suspected his wife without knowing where suspicion should point. A tightened hand on the banister, a question asked twice in different words, a swallow too close to a smile. These were the proofs he assembled. When a letter arrived for Alira sealed with a blank wax, he opened it. He would later say he had known for weeks, and perhaps he had, in the way one knows the first creak means winter has entered the wood. He did not shout. He made a room of his silence and asked Alira to sit within it. He offered terms more legal than loving: remain for Lyra's sake, be discreet for dignity's, promise the house, the city, the world that nothing had been broken, and he would promise to pretend the same. He believed that people are saved by rules. Alira listened with hands resting very still in her lap. She told him the truth as she knew it that day, that what she felt came not like a storm to be waited out but like spring to a field that had forgotten itself. She did not excuse herself. She could not return herself. Arden's face learned a new stillness, the kind that ice teaches when it covers a river that still runs. The city took sides without understanding. Women came to call and left without drinking their tea. At the opera, the lady with the ostrich fan would not turn enough to allow Alira to pass. Captain Theron received orders to depart with his regiment for a maneuvers tour in the north. He asked Alira to come with him, not as a hidden carry in a pocket but as a life. He did not believe in halfway. Lyra's hair smelled of chamomile when Alira pressed her face into it. Love is not math, but it involves subtraction. Alira knew that the sum would not balance, no matter which number she moved. She chose in the way one chooses to breathe, urgently, as if denial were a deeper water. She left the house with a trunk that looked smaller than it had yesterday. Behind her, Arden stood very straight, which is what men do when the ground is not steady. Sanaa visited Alira in a quiet lodging house before dawn and said nothing at first. Then she held her hand and let it go. "Do not forget who you are," she said, and Alira nodded, her eyes wide as if they had learned to be windows. Chapter 5: A Country of Two. They tried to build a world outside the world's reach. In a lake town where the wind smelled of pine and damp stone, Alira and Theron rented a house with thin walls and a clean table. They learned small things about each other. He never remembered to snuff a candle. She could not sleep unless the window cracked open an inch. They watched fishermen push through morning mist, counted the swans, named a cloud they saw often as if it were theirs. A certain kind of happiness is too bright for eyes that have been too long indoors. For a time they lived inside it. After a while, brightness demands to be lived with, not only in. Theron's regiment called him back for inspections, for duties that had not bothered with their love's schedule. Alira kept a calendar she did not trust. Empty days became mirrors. She wrote to Lyra, letters she could not send. She walked to the pier at dusk as if the sun owed her something. Jealousy is a poor houseguest. It arrived without knocking. It asked about a laugh Theron had mentioned, a woman he had danced with because one must dance when music begins. It asked why he had been late and why his uniform carried a perfume that was not his shaving soap. Alira hated the jealousy, and in hating it she fed it. She would have stood happily in any fire if it had kept her from the smoke in her head. Theron loved with the straightforwardness of a man who had run under gunmetal skies. He was patient until patience felt like insult. He wanted to protect, to provide, to declare the world unimportant. But the world continued with its gossip, its letters delivered by slow mail, its seasons. He did not know how to quiet the clock that had taken up residence under Alira's ribs. In another part of winter, Rowan gathered courage like harvest and asked Sana to marry him. They planned a ceremony that smelled of apples and piano polish. When they spoke of the future, they did not use words like always. They said tomorrow and meant it. Their certainty did not judge anyone else's uncertainty. It simply lit a small lamp and kept filling it with oil. Chapter 6: The City Again. Alira returned to Oroville with Theron for a season of ceremonies and inspections. The city is not kind to those who leave it and return unbowed. At a charity luncheon, the hostess forgot to introduce her. At the theater, a whisper ran along the velvet like a mouse beneath drapes. A woman who had once clasped her hands after a recital now pressed her own hands together as if in prayer whenever Alira passed, choosing piety over memory. I would not say the city is cruel. I would say it keeps its rules warm enough to brand. Arden met Alira in a public garden where children raced boats on a shallow pool. They spoke without raising their voices because their voices had once slept in the same house. Arden had come to ask, not to demand, that she consider what Lyra heard when her classmates repeated their mother's sentences. He did not use Lyra as a weapon. He brought a small ribbon Lyra had made from scraps and held it open in his palm like a question. Alira left the garden with the ribbon and a weather system inside her skull. She wanted everything, which is to say she wanted the impossible, to rewrite time without erasing anyone. She feared that even her wish for happiness had become a form of theft. One evening the regiment hosted a gala. Theron wore the honors he had earned. Alira wore a gown that fit like a sentence she had rehearsed. In the middle of a march, a minor officer made a loud lewd joke that did not use her name and yet somehow did. Theron's jaw worked. Alira smiled too brightly. The room did not collapse. It tilted. Later, in a carriage rocking across frozen ruts, Theron said something small and suffering about how the world would always have something to say. Alira, raw from the day and from the note Arden had sent about Lyra's cough, accused him of carelessness, of attention given elsewhere, of faith given to a creed that could not keep them fed. He accused her of distrusting sunlight. They said forgiving things and unforgiving things. When the horse stumbled, they both flinched as if the ground had opened. That night, when Theron slept with his hand open on the pillow, Alira dressed quietly, as if each button were a door she might still close. She took her cloak and a small case. She left a letter that began with endearments and ended with a plea to be remembered for the parts of herself that had sparkled before fear found them. The station lamps burned again, patient, unjudging. Chapter 7: What the Snow Keeps. I will tell you what I know and what I do not. I know Alira stood at the edge of platform 3 just past midnight, the rails singing quietly to themselves. I know she bought a ticket to the town where Lyra spent summers with her aunt, a place of reeds and kind insects. I know she held the ribbon in her gloves and that she did not cry the way people want women to cry when women prove that they are people and not angels. I do not know whether she intended to board that train. I do not know whether the footsteps behind her belonged to Theron arriving too late, or to a stranger, or to fear. The porter swears he saw a woman step away from the edge when the whistle blew. He also swears he saw an empty space where someone should have been. Snow fell in softened sound. Snow is the gentlest liar. What followed was not silence but a different music. Theron resigned his commission before any war could take him and went to the border anyway, offering his steadiness to those who needed fences repaired, roofs tarred, a pair of hands that could lift. He wrote letters to no one and burned them. He kept a room with a cracked window for a long time. Arden raised Lyra with the steady love he knew how to give. On Sundays he walked slower and let her skip ahead. He learned to laugh without counting the cost. When Lyra was old enough to ask for stories of her mother, he told her the ones that smelled like lake water and cinnamon and books in late afternoon. He told her that her mother wanted oceans, and that sometimes oceans require navigators who learn late. Rowan and Sana married under an arch of branches that remembered spring. They did not pretend the world was simple. They made theirs simple anyway. A yard with laughter, a table set even when the bread was plain, A piano with a scar along its lid that sounded sweeter for being imperfect. They visited Arden and Lyra and did not avoid Alira's name. Love is less haunted by the dead than by the unnamed. Every year when the station clocks went forward and then back, someone left a spray of winter herbs at platform 3. Thyme for courage, rosemary for remembrance, a single white hellebore, stubborn in the cold. The station master thought it was a foolishness. I did not correct him. Foolishness keeps faith with those who need it more than sense. I think Alira wanted to be seen, not as an affair or a morality play, but as a woman whose life did not fit within the ligatures of a beautiful city. I think she wanted to look at a man she loved and not ask him to be both a door and a roof. I think she deserved better than the choices on offer. But life is not a court case and I am not a judge. I am a woman who watched snow recast a city and knows that certain footsteps remain after the thaw, even when the feet that made them have gone elsewhere. If you ask me where she is, I will answer like this. She is where the snow keeps secrets and the rails meet the horizon, in the space between departure and arrival where the heart decides which law it obeys. She is in the laughter of a girl who will not let the world tell her what she is allowed to want. She is in the patience of a man who learns to love the living. She is in the bright, burning absurdity of two people who believe that the world might forgive them if they could forgive themselves first. And in the lamps that blink awake each night at the station, she is there, too. The light is not hers, but it remembers her face. So do I. If this tale moved you, please subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, give the video a like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with someone who loves stories. Your support keeps these lights burning.